Girl here. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. I hope you're all having a great week so far. Joining me this evening, we have a very special guest, Mr. Patrick Braillard.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Of course. Thank you for having me. No, it's always good to go online and talk about things that go bump in the night or bump in a deck of cards, as it were.
Absolutely. Now, there are some folks out there who might not be familiar with you or what you do or any of that fun stuff. So if you would, just tell us a little bit about you.
Of course. Hi, everyone. I'm Patrick Braillard. I was a former creative development show director down at Universal Orlando Resort for roughly 15 years, creating a lot of haunts and spending a lot of time in the fog and the dark. And really, at that point, had the opportunity to be a part of not only Halloween Horror Nights, but on the creative development front, a lot of live entertainment attractions throughout the course of my tenure. And now, working freelance and one of the co-creators to Oh the Horror, which I know we're going to dig into, which is a horribly hilarious horror card game.
Which I'm very excited for, and of course I'm sure you've been asked this question, but where did this idea come from? How did this come to be?
Okay, so because of the almighty COVID, myself and Nate Stevenson and Jacob McAllister, who are my other two partners, all three of us were let go from Universal.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And you know what? Look, we weren't alone. You can't take it personally. It's a business decision, and it's pretty hard to keep a staff of your Halloween team when you're going to cancel your Halloween event due to a pandemic. So
True.
that is what it is. And but fortunately, and it really is truly a blessing in some ways. In the fact that about a month and a half after Nate got let go, he came to me and he said, "Hey, I've got an idea for a card game." And I was like, "Well, what is it?" And within a matter, we say that within a matter of hours, we had plans for the game. It was a matter of minutes. It literally was him opening up his mouth and saying, "What about this?" And I went, "Okay," because of the shorthand that we had as creators. It was just like, "What about this? And what about this? And what about this? And we could do this." And then all of a sudden it was like, "Oh, this is something that could be really, really special. We need to reach out to someone that we trust to do art for this game so that it has a feel and a texture and an aesthetic that people will respond to." And then that led us directly to Jacob very, very quickly.
Okay. Wow. So you guys were just kind of throwing stuff to the wall and something stuck, and you were all like, "All right, man, let's do this."
Yeah, Nate came with this idea, and I don't even remember what the original name was, but he came with me with this name, and he was just like, "What about this?" And I was just like, "Well, that's funny. It's a little long. What about?" And then we just started going back and forth until one of us just said, "What about Oh the Horror?" And it was like, "Oh yeah, put an exclamation point on the end of it, and it'll sell." No, really, it was what was great about it is that it gives us an opportunity to stay a part of the horror genre, which we're huge fans of. It gives us the opportunity to kind of give back to people and allow them to experience still an immersive, have an immersive themed experience.
Right.
On behalf of the horror genre, which is something that we absolutely love. So, and selfishly, we created a game that we wanted to play.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, no, I mean, I didn't say it was. I'm not apologizing. I'm just saying that it is purely selfish that we created a game that we want to bring around to parties and play around with because it gives us the opportunity to kind of stretch our creative muscle, which was something that when you're working for Universal Orlando, you certainly have the opportunity to do.
Right.
But there are so many parameters that you're within, and those exist for very good reasons.
Right.
Whether it be operational or safety or whatever they are. But with a card game, you kind of don't have to do that anymore. You can stretch your bounds and you can kind of go where you want to flow based on the fact that you just want to have something that's fun for the guests, or in this case, the players to have.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you is, why did you guys decide to do this as a physical card game? With everything nowadays, like there's a lot of things that are virtual and stuff that you can do online. What made you guys gravitate towards doing it as a physical card game?
There's well, I mean, first of all, Nate is a gaming nut. The guy has virtual Wednesday evening game nights
Okay.
with all of his friends spread across the country, and he has for years. I mean, he's got family tournaments that last all weekend at the Stevenson household. Um, I grew up going to my grandmother's every Sunday, and every single Sunday it was a different card game. If you
Okay.
weren't playing poker, you were playing 99 or gin rummy or Uno, or cribbage was a huge game in our family.
Okay.
Um, and Jacob was a big board game hound, and one of the conscious decisions that we made at the very beginning of the process was we want this to be something that people can touch.
Okay.
We want this to be something that people can feel. We want them to kind of get an eerie, icky feeling when they're holding these cards. If something is particularly disgusting
Okay.
or particularly funny, we want them to react to it immediately and have to actually play those cards.
Okay.
Um, the feeling behind the box when you get it, and we'll get there. But when you get the box, should feel like something that you found in your grandfather's basement, right? It's
Oh.
like you go down and you see this box and you're like, oh man, I don't know if we should open this, and then you do, and you're like, Grandpa was holding out on us.
Right?
um, and also a little bit cursed.
Okay, that's fair. There's nothing wrong.
it-
Listen, a little bit cursed and a little icky is not really a bad thing.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But also to also touch on your question about why we chose to go analog rather than digital is that we have plans to eventually take a portion, if not all of this game digital.
Oh, okay.
There will be an opportunity for people to play, because for us it's twofold. One, coming out of a pandemic, we want people to get back together again now that they
Yeah.
are starting to feel safer. And it's a great opportunity for people to do that. It's a great excuse to get together, have a couple drinks, and just laugh your asses off.
Nice.
And it's also a wonderful preamble to the haunt season, as people start to get ready to go and experience all the magnificent Halloween events spread across the country. They have this opportunity to now pick up this game and start to play to get in the feeling of the season.
Okay.
And then third, when we switch to digital, eventually it's going to be an absolute blast for people to play this against their friends in the queue line as they're waiting to go into a particular haunt. But they'll have
There
the
you go.
opportunity. Yeah, they'll have the opportunity to be in this area with their friends and be able to play, which is something that I think is also in the future, but something that we are definitely looking forward to.
See that, and a lot of people play like heads up and stuff while they're in line waiting for haunts. So I think something like Other Horror would be great, when they're standing there waiting to go in. So then it almost makes them look forward to standing in those long lines while they're waiting to go through the houses or mazes or whatever you want to call them.
Right, because our game, after the game testing, an hour absolutely flies by when you're playing our game.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, now I know you kind of touched on this already and said, you guys are big horror fans, obviously, and haunt fans as well. So you've kind of more created. I'm assuming the game was created with us type of people. I mean, us because we're the same type of people as your target audience. Did you guys try to make it so it was a little bit more friendly towards like people that may not be into this type of thing as much, so that you could kind of make it all inclusive?
That's a great point as far as accessibility towards the audience, and wanting to make sure that we're conscious of that. The answer is yes. However, I have to give the caveat, much like I would give any of the haunts that Nate and Jacob and I had the opportunity in creating, is that when dealing with a haunt that people are fans of, whether the material is based on a television show or a movie or a video game or whatever it might be, when they go through that house, if they're a fan of it, they're going to absolutely love it.
Okay.
So if you're a fan of the genre, you're going to dig trope things that we've thrown in there, small verbal Easter eggs. There's written things in the cards that you're going to go, oh, I see what they did there. Or I wonder if they meant that. And if you have to ask the question of whether or not, you wonder if we did it, yeah, that was intentional. We did that. But to that point, and to your question, when you look at non-horror fans or people that are playing just because they might think it's a fun party game, they're going to do the exact same thing that they do at a local haunt or at a big her haunt.
Okay.
Is they're going to come away laughing, and they're going to come away enjoying themselves. That's what the game was designed for. The game was designed to have that levity and to have that excitement and that humor, so that it does translate to everyone who may not be quite as deep and dark as my soul.
See, I like the fact too that you touched on that you have those little nods in there, so that the horror fans will be able to go, oh, did he mean this? I think he did. So I like when you guys slip in Easter eggs like that, and by you guys I just mean like creative in general, whether it's an artist or a painter or a game creator. When you slide in those little nods that make me go, wait a minute. Was that an Exorcist reference that just happened, or is that an Army of Darkness reference that just happened?
Right. Well, based on the head behind you, it's an Army of Darkness reference.
I might have a small Evil Dead obsession.
Hey, Sally Forth, it's okay.
Exactly. Thank you. Now, we were talking about this a little bit, as far as like who's it's geared towards. How do you actually play the game?
Okay.
Walk me through.
Walk you through.
Because I haven't gotten to play yet.
All right. Well, there are 3 decks that you really have to worry about when you're playing our game, and it's fairly simple. However, I will say that our decks are fairly substantial. There are 400 cards in the base set alone.
What?
There's 100 killers, 100 victims, and then 200 methods of death.
Wow. Only 200? That's it?
Only 2. Well, no, there are several on whiteboards and scratch pads and late night text messages back and forth between ourselves that have never made it to print, but eventually will.
Expansion packs.
Yeah, exactly. No, so you have these 3 decks, and so what you do is you separate the decks into the killer deck, the victim deck, and the method of death.
Okay.
And the death dealer, the first death dealer of the evening, is the person who's oldest in the room, because they're closest to the grave. So the person closest to death will pick up the method of death deck and will deal out 7 cards to everyone who's playing.
Okay.
And so you all have your 7. There we go. Look at that.
There we go.
You have your 7 methods. And then the death dealer will flip over a red card, which are the killers, and then they'll flip over a blue card, which is the victims.
Okay.
So now you've got that situation teed up where you've got a killer facing off against a victim. And then your job as a player is to put one of the methods of death, the method of death that you feel fits best or finishes the story or will make the death dealer laugh or is the most inventive way that killer could off that victim as possible. And you're to play that face down to the death dealer. And after he's collected everyone's cards, he reads them out loud one at a time.
Okay.
And then once he does that, they'll pick their favorite method of death. And then whoever played the favorite will then take the victim card and put it in front of them and start their body count.
Oh, okay.
And then whoever gets the most bodies at the end of the gameplay, based on the group's determination of how many they're going to play to, wins the game.
Oh, okay. So there's no really set, if you get 7 bodies, you automatically win. It just depends on how that group feels. So they could go up to whatever number they wanted, theoretically.
If they want, theoretically speaking, with a group of 6, they could say we're going to play to 20.
Oh, geez. Okay.
They'd have to reshuffle the cards some of the times, but they could conceivably play that high.
Wow.
Well, I guess it'd be 5 players at 20 because that's 100.
Yes.
I was a theater major, not a math major. But the interesting part about it is that not only does that happen, but there are exclusive cards that we've placed inside the deck that are called plot twists that will radically change the game.
Oh.
So if you flip over a killer card and it ends up being death itself, which I think was on that little picture of the card spread on the table right there, our little guy Death.
Let's flip back here.
There he is. He's over there.
Yep, he's on the side there on the
Now,
bottom right corner for you guys.
Yeah, this is a game testing deck, so it's not colored. Everything's been changed over. The color's different. We've got a bunch of different things that we've changed for the better based on the game testing. But if you flip death itself, then everyone has to pull one random method of death card off the top of the deck and play that as their method.
Oh, okay.
So because death chooses for itself.
I like it.
We also have plot twist cards that do things like steal a victim away from the death dealer, steal a victim away from a player, everybody loses a victim, gameplay reversal. There's a number of different ways to screw with people in this game. And then also we have Guardian Angel cards.
Okay.
And the Guardian Angel cards are used. They're pulled into your method cards, and you can play them if someone wins a round, and you don't like the fact that they won that round. You can play a guardian angel card and steal the victim away from them.
Oh, okay.
And so, but you can't use it to win the game. But you can keep people from winning the game, which is a lot of fun.
So, like, for example, just bear with me here. So let's say we're playing a 20. Let's say you've got 19 victims. You got 19 bodies, right? And let's say I've got 18, and I'm like, and you go to play that 20th. I can use that card and automatically take that one away from you?
Yes, you can. And you'll now have 19, and they'll have 19, and you guys are now at game point.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's a blast to play, and it's also really fun because there are a couple of plot twists which give you multiple chances for victims.
Okay.
So you could actually steal 2 victims away from somebody who just won a round rather than just one.
Oh. Okay.
One of the things that and you'll notice this when you buy the set, you'll notice the instruction manual inside will detail all of this out. But
Nice.
at the very end, we also say, games are made to be played. Please use house rules. Create your own house rules.
Nice.
We don't have any problem with people using these cards however they're going to use them.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like guidelines.
It really is. It really is. I mean, there's rules, but at the same time, if you want to choose that, you can win on a guardian angel card, by all means. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm gonna say no in my house. Just saying.
Yeah, hardliner.
That's right.
I love it. You're a purist. I love that. Yeah, and really, one of the reasons that the deck is so substantial is that right from the very beginning, we wanted to make sure that this game had a very high replayability.
Nice.
And we did the math, even though I'm not a math major, and there's over 2 million combinations of killers, victims, and death cards that you can possibly have.
Wow.
So there's a lot of variety in this game that you can constantly go back and play that. Yeah, you might see this killer again, but you may not see him with that same victim for 2 million plays.
Oh, okay. I like it. Wow.
Yeah, it's very cool.
That's got a lot of playback. And you were kind enough to send us over some cards, so let's take a look at some of now these are victim cards, correct?
These are victim cards, yes.
Now, how did you guys come up with some of these? Because these are, I'm loving them. I'm a fan.
The wonderful thing about creating victims is that you are going to have those tropish kind of characters, right? You're going to have the jock, and you're going to have the camp counselor, and you're going to have those characters that everybody expects in horror movies. But then you also want to have a bunch of characters that you actually wouldn't mind seeing in a horror movie get off by the main killer. Just like Bad Boy Baldwin. I mean, we've all had that opportunity to experience, somebody at the grocery store not caring. And it's okay that they don't care, but then they take your eggs and just kind of throw them.
Mm-hmm.
Side note, I've spent time as a barista.
Oh.
So, back in my early days. So, that's where kind of Betty came from.
I was going to say, is that some personal experience there with Betty?
That might be. All of these characters are original creations and not related to anybody living and or dead. But let's just call it therapy while we're at it. And then of course film student Felicia, we don't want to read her screenplay either. It's kind of that feeling that you get, like there are these people that you wouldn't mind seeing as part of a horror movie.
Yes.
Or a short story, and I think that they, based on the killers that we also have in the deck, have a lot of interplay between. It's gonna be fun.
No, I do got to admit, I do tend to find myself rooting for whoever the killer is in most films, because some of those characters they need to go sooner than later. So yes.
And how brave would it be for film? And there are horror movies out there in which this is the case, but how brave is it for a horror movie to have a bunch of people who aren't vapid and naive and who are smart, and really, it's a challenge to take them out. And so, you're somebody you can actually root for as a final girl, like actually somebody who you're like, yes, I'm really excited about the fact that they made it, rather than, oh, all right, I guess I'll see him in a year and a half in the sequel.
Or you're calling from the beginning, you're like, there's a final girl. Right
Yeah,
there.
there,
5 minutes
there
in,
she
you
is.
already know. You already know it's usually the nerdy girl who's usually, a little shy. 9 times out of 10, that is always going to be your final girl.
Yeah, yeah. Well, she had to be the final girl. The role of the killer was already taken.
Or was it, depending on the
Or
movie?
whoa.
Little high tension there, I'm just saying.
There we go.
Now,
Whoa, spoiler alert.
if you haven't seen it at this point, I'm sorry. Now, let's see. We've also got some of the killer bloody cards, as I'm calling them. They're the killer cards. So these are fun.
Yeah, yeah. The killers, we had so much fun coming up with the killers. And they run the gamut, not only occupationally, but they run the gamut as far as age, sex, their motives and why they do what they do. And it's one thing for Nate and I to have created the 400 cards in the written word, for us to be able to go in and say, okay, this is the killer and this is our tagline for the killer, and this is the victim and this is the tagline for the victim. But it's something else entirely for 200 cards for Jacob to then go in and draw the amazing artwork that you see on these cards.
And I do love it.
That they are fully fleshed out, pun intended, characters. That cherry card, that cheerleader cherry card,
yes,
is one of my absolute favorites in the entire deck.
I love the tagline for her so much.
Yeah, and one of the things that we also did, and you'll see this throughout the deck in various different ways, is we also, although there are tropes associated with the game, we also wanted to kind of screw with those tropes. And so the cheerleader wouldn't necessarily be considered anybody that would be going after anyone. But then Jacob decided to go, we had conversations back and forth about what the card might look like. And when he came back and shot back this card, it was the very first card that not only did he draw, well, it wasn't the first one he drew, but when he drew it, it was the first one that came back to us in color.
Oh, wow.
And so, and the thing is that we were only maybe a quarter of the way, maybe a third of the way through the entire 200 killers and victims. So we'd only seen line work for maybe 30 cards.
Yeah.
And although impressive and part of the game already and completely in line with our aesthetic, it was a matter of like, okay, these are really, really great. These are fantastic. And then Cherry showed up in full bright red with blood dripping off her pom-poms. And all of us were just like, yeah! And she has since become an absolute favorite of ours. We absolutely love that girl.
Oh, it's I love it. The BE aggressive. I was like, yes, it's needed. It's perfect. It's so perfect.
And then you've also got a little bit of the the social commentary with a nun going after people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Now, by the way, did I mention that this game is only not for children?
Not yet. So, boys and girls, okay, so let's get into that too real quick. What would you recommend the age group be for this game?
18 plus, unless you're a bad parent.
Okay.
No,
I didn't say it.
It is completely up to the discretion of the people playing the game, but at the same time, on the box it does list 18 plus.
Gotcha. Okay.
It is an adult game. There is there is objectionable material found on a lot of cards, both in written and in picture.
Nice. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's objectionable material. You got some of the tame cards that I forwarded.
I want the good stuff.
I know you'll get it. You'll get it eventually. But yeah, and that's one thing that we also wanted to do. You know, as far as that trope is concerned, if you have a nun in a horror movie, she's either the assistant to the person doing the exorcist,
mm-hmm.
The exorcism, or she is the antagonist and she is the killer.
Yeah.
But only usually in spectral form, right? It's never an actual human being wearing a habit going after you with a bloody ruler.
Right.
And while Sister Susan is bloody and has got that ruler, that by no means should tell you that she's only going to use that ruler to dispatch you. The methods are filled with various ways of which people can be dispatched.
Okay.
And then the Underdweller, that third card on the end.
Let's pop that back up.
Yeah. One of the amazing things that we got to do during our tenure at Universal, was to be able to create all these creatures, these original house storylines, and all these original creatures. And so we really dug into, what kind of original creatures would we want to see in story form or in this game. And the Underdweller was such a fun thing because it's so nondescript.
Yeah.
You don't know what the rest of that creature looks like.
Ah.
And one of the particular challenges then became in the creation of all of the copy was trying to figure out, okay, well, you've got Cheerleader Cherry, Sister Susan, and then the Underdweller, 3 radically different characters, but they all have to be able to be played with the methods that we've got at our disposal.
Okay.
So what we did is we actually broke down a certain percentage of the kills that could be handled by beasts or by creatures,
Okay.
and a certain percentage that could be handled by people that have a little bit more faculty about them.
Okay.
So scientifically speaking, it should work out. I don't know if it actually will. No, it will. It will. We've played it countless times.
Right.
But yeah, that's also fun to try to figure out how the Underdweller would go about dispatching any of our victims as opposed to Sister Susan. So yeah.
Now, I got the Underdweller. Did you have anything in mind when you guys created that card? Because there's 2 things that pop in my mind when I saw that card, which was, of course, Chud.
Yeah.
And Return of the Living Dead 3 popped into my head just because of the fact that, like, Julie's in the sewer half the time. So, of course, I went kind of zombie as well.
Yeah, there's a little bit with that wrist break in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of get that feeling. Yeah, they're a little thin for Chud.
Yes, they are.
A little thin for Chud. But yeah, I mean, all of that has the influence, right? All of that is like, okay, what other characters can we put where else? And really, it is one of the only instances, I think, of having a character in the game, or a killer in the game in particular, that has kind of a centralized environment associated with it.
Okay.
On a lot of the cards, there are small vignettes that these characters exist in, but that by no means means that that's where they end up either offing or getting offed.
Okay.
But yeah, it definitely has that feel, and I would be remiss if I said that it didn't have something to do with it.
Okay, lovely. I can't wait to see the other characters, and I love the artwork and the style that you guys went with this. And I do apologize. What was the name of the gentleman that you guys had do the artwork?
Oh, Jacob McAllister.
How did you guys come up with that style that he's using? Because it's fantastic.
Yeah, so Jacob, there were a bunch of, when we first contacted Jacob and started talking to him about the game, and of course he immediately jumped on, and we were, because Jacob came from the creative development team as well. So all 3 of us had years of experience working with one another, and that shorthand that is so wonderful when you're talking about, a creative endeavor and trying to collaborate with one another.
Yeah.
Jacob has an amazing sensibility of being able to figure out from a verbal explanation what the picture is inside that person's head.
Okay.
And when we approached him and said, we kind of want this to be that card game that you find in your grandfather's basement.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, so that automatically means, 50s, 60s, UPA style animation. I really want to go, heavy caricature on it. I want it to be cartoony. And I think that will really set it off as far as like how people react to the game should be twofold. One, they should be a little bit disturbed. They should be a little bit disturbed by some of the things that we've written and the gore and the nastiness that's a part of this game. But also, when you balance that against really light cartoony characters, it makes the game absolutely hilarious because now it's complete suspension of disbelief and it's not real at all. It's all fantasy. So they can allow themselves to laugh a little bit more than if it was just verbs and adjectives and nouns on the cards.
Right.
Because then people would be like, oh no, this is a serious survival horror game in which these characters are going to be killed. And then you look at it and you're like, no, it's not. Are you kidding me? No, these characters kind of deserve to die. I'm sorry, but film student Felicia, yeah, she's getting offed in the first reel.
But you don't want to read her script?
Nobody wants. Look how big that thing is.
It's huge.
And that's the thing, is that when we said to Jacob, film student Felicia, we don't want to read the script either, we had given him the idea of like, okay, maybe she's holding the script in her hands. Yeah. And then he was the one who came back and she's holding War and Peace. So, like, that's the kind of thing that Jacob does. He's amazing at being able to take an idea that you give him and just absolutely run with it.
Oh, they're fantastic. I can't sing his praises enough. It's beautiful, and I love the feel of it. I love looking at them, and you're right. It doesn't make it too serious to where you're like, I don't know about this. It gives it that great comedic factor that I think in a game like this or any game that deals with, serial killers and horror should have. It should have like a fun, those moments of haha. So you're not that much of a psycho.
Yeah, well, and that also speaks to your question earlier of, how do you hook a non-horror fan into it? It is so lighthearted that I think it's a great party game. It's not just a horror party game, but it's also a great just party game.
Oh, definitely. I could see sitting around with a bunch of friends, just kind of having a few drinks and a couple of laughs and enjoying a few rounds of the game for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Oh, we've got some of your death cards too. Now, how many ways are there to die in this? Because there's like too many different variations of the game that you can come up with your endings between the deaths and the killers and everything else. So how many deaths are there?
In the base set, there are 200 methods.
Love it. We got a couple of them here.
Yes. Alakabammed. I love Alakablammed. Yeah, it really is a matter of a variety for us. So when Nate and I were writing the game, we had this big whiteboard, and we whenever we came up with a death, we would immediately look at the whiteboard, and if that version or that type of killing had not happened yet in the game, we wrote it down.
Okay.
And if it had existed, we put a hash mark next to it.
Okay.
And so we had, there are not only random deaths, asphyxiations, stabbings, slaughterings, magic deaths, because there's some magical characters in the game.
Okay.
Creature deaths. There's so many different ways to skinning. Skinning was a big one.
Oh, nice.
Not too many frozen, but we could always have an expansion pack on that.
Oh, for sure.
There's and really, when you sit back and look at it at the end, when you have all 200 up on the board, you sit back and you look at the board and you go, oh my God, we are some sick ass individuals. Like this is a gig that we're just kind of just sitting here talking about. And then, you go back and you're like, yeah, but that's what we would do if we were part of Horror Nights too. We'd have discussions before our coffee that most people would run away from. So that's just what it is. And it also showed us, based on, when we started doing that, of where we were light as far as kills were concerned, because we wanted to stay there needs to be variety.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
If you've got 4 people or 5 people playing this game and they each have 7 cards, what's I think amazing about this game is that some players may never get to play 3 or 4 cards in their hand. They're just going to hold on to them because they're, they don't think they fit quite right, or they're a little bit, they don't know how to use them, or they don't, they don't use them in time, which means that you may never see some of the cards that are in their hand, and you'll have to wait till the next time to play in order to see them.
I like that. That's cool.
Also, you get to see people's tendencies real quick of whether or not they just play the overtly dirty ones, or the overtly gross ones, or the overt, like, profane, or... Yeah, exactly.
What?
Exactly. You
I feel called out on all of that.
It's a psychological experiment in the making, really. It's a matter of, like, who gets to play what tells a lot about the individual while you're playing the game.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and you speaking about like the whiteboard and you guys going through those to see, which ones you've already got or which ones are close to it. What came first? The death or the victim or the killer?
It's not chicken and egg. It's it really was interesting. There would be times, this is a great question, because there would be times where we would have a run on killers. We would just have like a day where it was just nothing but, for some reason, killers were just coming out. It was just like, okay, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And then there were other days where it was like that with victims. But every now and then, no matter if we were on a kick about killers or victims, you would always have a method that would just all of a sudden show up.
Oh, Okay.
And it's not like we've assigned deaths or assigned kills to particular killers or assigned deaths or particular kills to victims in the deck, but there are kind of these and I think people will play when they play the game, they'll realize it very quickly. There are these kind of magical little combinations that could really set the combination apart.
Okay.
So when you get a particular character, you flip it and then a victim, and you're like, ha ha, it doesn't matter what anybody else has. I have the card.
Okay.
And you play it. And it's not exactly by design like that because we want a lot of variety, but at the same time, it kind of is.
You get those happy coincidences where you're like, yes,
yeah,
that's the one right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Now, when you guys started this, you guys had a Kickstarter campaign that was going on. You guys damn near doubled your target from what I saw. You were what, like 15,000, and you guys ended up with 28?
Yeah,
almost 30.
We were at 194%.
Jeez. Did you guys think it was gonna go that far?
We had hoped, but and if any of the Kickstarter backers are watching this right now, I have to say a huge thank you.
Yeah.
Because while you can hope about a Kickstarter exists purely to give people an opportunity to buy in on what could be a concept.
Yeah.
Can we do this? Can we create a game that leverages our love of horror as well as, make people laugh? And during a pandemic, it's especially, I think, important for people now to start getting together and get that sense of community back because in a lot of ways, 2020 stole a lot of the horror genre away from people in their regular daily lives.
Oh, absolutely.
And so we kind of wanted to, one of the things that we were very sensitive towards, initially when we first had our very, beginning conversations, was the fact that we wanted to give back and we wanted to give something back to the people that had that stolen from them. And so this is our kind of chance to do that, but to have that many people buy in on the concept and kind of just buy in on us and to say, we think that these guys might be capable of pulling this off, and to do so at such an amazing amount, which afforded us not only better cards, better box, better overlay for those box, the opportunity for us to expand the deck in certain ways and to do the things that we really wanted to do at the outset, as well as establish us and be able to, to get the game fully produced in the way that we wanted it to be fully produced.
Nice.
Was something of an amazing experience. No, none of us have pulled money yet. The game paid for itself.
Awesome.
But as far as the finances are concerned, the game is far from turning a profit because we're still at that outset, those early stages.
Yeah.
We were able to get a limited first run, which means that the 410 Kickstarters that ordered their sets will get theirs, as well as we've got a few hundred left to sell to be able to order our next set for Q4.
Okay, awesome.
So we are definitely taking orders, and those games should arrive end of July, early August, which is going to be, I think, perfect for people. Right before the haunt season begins, people are starting to get together again.
Mm-hmm.
Late summer parties. It's going to be a great time. We're very, very blessed and very, very fortunate that the people at Kickstarter, all of our backers came through for us.
Yeah. Big thank you and shout out to those guys. And you guys, if you're watching, thank you guys, because now I get to order my copy and I get to play this game. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I would love to help out anybody who's watching this. Regardless of what your situation is, I think that we need to give you guys a discount code to order the game.
What?
So why don't we do...
Dude.
Yeah. Why don't we do discount code DeadGirl, 10% off?
Nice. I'm on it. I'm getting it. It's happening. Husband, I know you're watching. Go order it.
There you go. Hey, man, a birthday comes up every year.
Hey, mid-birthday.
Yeah, there we go. Early Christmas. You're done. Congratulations.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. So if you guys are watching, if you haven't pre-ordered yet, get on their website and use that code DeadGirl and get you 10% off, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll keep it open for like a week. We'll keep open the discount for a week. So just
Awesome.
get there now. Um, but also, I mean, one thing is doing the Kickstarter. It's a completely other thing now to be pushing the game and realize that not only are we going to have Kickstarter boxes that are going to be a part of that shipment, but also the retail boxes
Yes.
and the expansion decks that'll be coming with him. We are so excited about the end of the summer because in mid-August there's a humongous convention here in Orlando called MegaCon.
Yep.
I'm sure most people are familiar with it. We're going to be at MegaCon.
Okay.
Nate and I are actually going to be doing a seminar 4 times during the course of the con, once each day for about 45 minutes.
Okay.
We're going to be doing a writing seminar on horror in cards and also talking about our experiences with haunts.
Very awesome.
And then we're going to have a gigantic booth on the floor.
Nice.
Where we're going to be selling sets. And people can stop buying gameplay before they buy.
Okay.
We'll have a lot of really fun giveaways and do a lot of really interesting things. We don't want to give away too much, but it's going to be...
Okay.
But, I mean, the booth is going to be 20 by 20.
Oh, wow. That's a nice big space.
Yeah, so we're going to rent Guar. And...
Yes.
No, we're gonna tear it up. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're really excited about it because it gives us the opportunity to actually not only at the end of July, early August, start fulfilling the orders of the people that have been patient enough to back us on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
But to actually have physical sets to hand to people and say, here's the game. You can actually sit down and rifle through the cards and find that favorite killer or favorite victim that you're looking for.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm so looking forward to that. I can't wait. Now, are you guys are you doing any other events other than MegaCon? Do you have anything else planned for this year?
We do, yeah. We're gonna plan on doing Spooky Empire in October here in Orlando.
Yay!
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a perfect fit right there if there ever was one.
It's gonna be so much fun too. Like that's the thing is that we always came at our experiences with Horror Nights as fans first. Nice. We always came at it with fans of the genre first. We always got, we were fortunate enough to be in some of those rooms in which IPs were released to us that were white whales, and we got to be the first people to hear that it was going to happen, rather than just a guest showing up going, "Oh, they've got Shining this year."
Right.
We get off the phone and it's like, "We got Shining! Oh, now we gotta create a house based on Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece. Okay, that's great."
And it was done, and it was beautiful.
Thank you. People worked really hard on that house. But that's the thing, is that as fans, there is one thing to be able to watch a horror movie by yourself, but a horror movie is always more fun when you're watching it with friends.
Absolutely.
Going to haunts is fine by yourself. You can totally do it because you can slow down and appreciate different things and experience different things by witnessing, crowds and interactions with people. But haunts are always more fun with your friends.
Definitely, especially when one of them's scared and you can shove them up front.
Yeah. And they're 6'4", and they talk. Yeah, I'm not gonna get scared, and then they crawl out. That's always the best. But that's kind of also the same thing with this, is that we want people to get together. We want groups of people to get together.
Yeah.
Now that they're starting to feel more comfortable and they want to. I can think of no better term, but they want to decompress from this last year. Absolutely.
They need to be social.
Yeah.
Even like introverted people are still like, I need people. And I think it's an amazing thing that even though it's been kind of crappy that we've all been stuck inside, we've all kind of realized that like we miss the human interaction.
Yeah.
So I think I love the fact that this game is going to be available soon. I love the fact that it's geared towards bringing your friends and fellow horror nerds and even non-horror nerds alike together. It's awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you. And thank you to the team for creating this.
Yeah. We're thank you for, giving us a platform to be able to share our voice with it, because we really want, we really want people to experience this on a real level and be able to be like, not only, wow, I just spent an hour and a half to 2 hours laughing my ass off and, either making fun of people or getting made fun of because of my choices, or,
right.
Really cringing at some of the things that they've said, or kind of trying to whisper some of the things that are said on the cards because they don't
Ah.
really want to give them full voice. But then, you know, after they've gotten done playing the game, to go, you know, I know who would really love this for Christmas, or I know who would really love this for their birthday, or
Yes.
I need to have this and I need to bring this to my next party game night.
Yes.
That's really where the hook is, and that's what we're really hoping to do. Is that we want people to experience this as and get it as big as possible, so that people can really enjoy it, and allow us to continue creating things like expansion packs and turn it into a digital platform, and you know, the other plans that we have in our creative heads, because this is not the end. This is just the beginning of the process.
Oh, okay. And now, just real quick for you boys and girls, if you want to get those pre-orders in, here's a website for you: www.ohthehorrorgame.com. Use that 10% off code DeadGirl at checkout. Get you a little discount there. Again, you know, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. I'm sure everybody watching appreciates that. And get over there and spend the money, folks. Do it. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be fantastic. Like I said, we get our sample decks early next week, and when we do, we're gonna do an unboxing video, and we're gonna blast it all over the social channels.
Oh, awesome! Are you guys gonna do that mainly on Facebook, Instagram?
That's what we hope to do.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a YouTube channel that we just started. So
cool.
you know, it's a fledgling little itty bitty. It's got a couple videos, but what we really want to do is show people that, you know, not only are the decks arriving, but also I think people are going to be taken back by the quality of the decks.
Okay. Well, make sure I'll link that channel down below in the description box along with the link. This way, if folks are watching the replay of it, you guys can go ahead and click those links and go right to the websites and to the YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button.
Fantastic. Also, if you want to go check out Jacob's individual art, not just associated with the horror, you can find him at YouFoundJacob on Instagram.
Okay, awesome.
And you can check out his Instagram, and he does a ton of art, not just for us, but also he's worked on Ravensburger games. He's done a lot of different things in a lot of different genres. So
oh, wow.
Yeah. If you remember in Halloween 25,
Yes.
Horror Nights 25, when you went into Jack's Maniacs and Mayhem and Maniacs,
Yes.
the Jack house, yeah, all of those, the artwork of all of the icons that were in that house,
Yeah.
that was all Jacob.
Wow.
All the artwork down Hollywood Boulevard, that was all him. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah,
Dude.
guy's insanely talented.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna have to go check out some more of his work because I'm a big fan for sure. Now, I know we spent most of our time talking about Oh the Horror, and I couldn't be happier. But I do have to ask: do you have any other projects that you're working on? Anything fun coming up that you can talk about?
Yes, I do. I'm thrilled. Earlier this year, Chris from Scream and Stream reached out and asked if I would be, you know, if I would help with that project, and you know, taking on the role of lead creative writer for their second year was something that was such a welcome and wonderful kind of opportunity. You know, the thing with Scream and Stream is that last year, for those who don't know, it was a drive-through haunt experience, and it's one thing to do a haunt experience that's a drive-through because you're required to do so due to a pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, something that it's out of necessity that you're inside your car. It's out of necessity that you're staying that distant away from people. Yeah. It's out of necessity for everybody's safety. And they did an amazing job with the aesthetic of turning that into something that was spectacle filled and bombastic and wonderful, and people really resonated with it.
Oh yeah, I was a big fan. I loved the wood chipper and the blood coming out of the top, and it was so much fun. Yeah,
so much fun. And when he came to me, he was just like, we really want to change things up this year. And so I can't talk about certain, you know, changes. Stay tuned to their social channels for you know, things that are going to be coming down the line. But one of the big things that is going to be happening this year is the inclusion of giving the guests the opportunity to kind of fight back against aggressors inside the experience. Yes. And that you know, they're going to give them laser guns, and you know, there's suppression units that are going to be attached to certain characters, and they're going to react to those guns as people travel through. Now, you had the opportunity Erica, to go to the
You
media
did.
night and experience this, right?
I did, and my husband was okay. So let me preface this: my husband drove so that I could shoot, and Johnny Bronte from Haunt Scene actually rode with us so that he could shoot as well. And my husband was mad because he had to drive because the driver cannot play. But it was so refreshing to have an interactive haunt, such as, you know, when you have these creatures, these zombies come at you, you were in your car and you physically have that gun and you're taking them out right there in the car, and it was very unique. It's not something that I've ever done before, so that was definitely a first, and I'm so excited to get to see the full shebang once it's done and ready to roll out this year. I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of fun with it. It's definitely not what I expected, and I mean that in the best way possible.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. There is something that is dynamic about somebody being in a car and you're handed, this laser gun, and then your job is to protect the driver, and that's a whole level of trust that I know a lot of people probably won't be down for when they show up. There's going to be a lot of first dates that aren't going to go as well as people hope because of this. And that's okay. That's great. It is a different it is a different opportunity for guests to have that immersive feeling and that immersive quality to their experience. And I don't think until I went through the first time in a car, I didn't have an appreciation for how claustrophobic a car actually is and would be during an attack by various entities.
You know what? You're absolutely right. I didn't even think about that.
Like, instead of it being, the hope is that instead of it being out of necessity that you have to use your vehicle, it's almost as if your vehicle might only be the safest place for you.
I like that.
You have to stay in your car, because if you don't, you're not going to make it home. And so, but also, you know, with the world kind of changing and things getting better. It gives us the awesome opportunity to be able to change things up a little bit in how we present to the guests, and how certain characters, I know that you mentioned zombies, there might be some other things that are out there that go up in the night.
Okay.
But that there are various entities that might want to do you ill will.
Okay.
And that's going to be a lot of fun to play with. With the early quick down and dirty media night that we did, it kind of was a proof of concept for us to do a couple of different things. Yeah. And we're very excited about where that's going to lead. There's also a tech package that the guests are going to be given that they kind of have to take care of from the beginning of the event to the end of the event, and they need to make sure that they have it on them in order for a successful conclusion to their story.
So, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Back this up a little bit. So is there a chance that they could lose that package while in their vehicle?
I don't know if there's a chance that they could lose it.
Okay.
I think that you would, but the illusion of danger in losing that package could certainly appear.
Be there.
And also how, how that package might react to certain moments.
Oh. Okay.
So there's a lot of fun things that we've got planned up our sleeves for this year that is going to set it, I think, aside, because in its first run, Scream and Stream was a wonderful theatrical, dirty drive-in movie kind of experience.
Yes.
And you got to really be a voyeur as far as all of these scenes happening in and around you.
Yeah.
This year, that layer is still kind of there, but at the same time, we're starting to encroach upon the guests. We're starting to make it more of a self-guided dark ride in which the threat is real.
Okay. And it's a lot more interactive, too.
And it is a lot more interactive, which is something that is going to be absolutely phenomenal for people to experience.
Nice. I'm very excited.
It'll start mid-September and run through the end of the haunt holiday. And we are really looking forward to it.
I think I've got I got the dates and then the link up there. And then they're doing tickets are already on sale too, aren't they?
Yes, we are in pre-sale right now.
Oh,
geez.
And
so yeah. So and last year, I mean they sold out 15 out of 16 nights.
Yeah, I remember hearing it, and I remember them seeing posted online like, "Oh, we're sold out tonight. We're sold out tonight." I think there was like you said, there was just the one night that they didn't fully sell out. It was hugely popular, and I loved. Or do you know offhand? Are they going to be back at the same location that they were last year?
I don't have any firm
Okay.
knowledge on where they're going to land, but I do have to say that with the aesthetic of the woods, they are driving to a completely we're driving to a completely different look this year.
Oh, okay.
I mean, when you went to the media night, you noticed a lot of steel and a lot of, and that's completely intentional, not only from the aesthetic of the story, but also just from logistics. Being able to use steel and truss work to be able to cordon off the cars means that it's going to be more difficult for people to see into the next scene and be able to see what's coming up. It's going to be the opportunity for it not to have just ground-based audio, but there'll actually be flown audio, flown lighting, different effects that are going to be able to hit the guests in the cars with their windows rolled down than they would have probably normally wanted to have happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a different aesthetic for a reason, and I think that's always when story is a complement to the effects and the effects are a complement to the story rather than one overshadowing the other is always when you find that golden moment. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so we're really, really excited for it.
Nice. Now I got a couple of people chiming in with some questions in the chat. Would you mind answering
I don't
a couple
mind
of questions? All right. So I just got scolded by my husband who was saying he wasn't mad. He just wanted me to drive so that he could pew pew. So first of all, sorry, JD.
Buy two nights worth of tickets so both of you get a chance to pew pew.
I mean, we may have to at that point. Or I may let him pew pew and then, make him buy for me.
There you go.
JD's asking, are there any talks or any plans to sell Oh the Horror at Scream and Stream?
Yes, there is.
Oh, okay.
And here's the thing: is that we're pretty far out from that particular thing. There have been early discussions about whether or not there'll be hard copies there in merch for purchase.
Okay.
Which is an option. There's a possibility that it could be a part of a ticket add-on when you buy a ticket of that, and then you would pick up the box set when you show up at the actual event.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So there's a number of different ways to skin that cat. But yeah, I've been talking to Chris about that, and certainly it's wonderful to have that such an amazing partner and to be kind of doing double duty at the exact same time.
Yeah, see that's actually that's a great question, and I love the fact that you guys are talking about that. That's pretty good. I got haunt scene. You could Uber through the haunt. That's not a bad idea. If you wanted to get an Uber and pay your Uber driver so that everybody else, because it's the prices per car, so that you guys could go through the haunt and you don't got to worry about your Uber driver upsetting your significant other.
Oh my God, you're gonna traumatize the hell out of an Uber driver.
Dude, I think he may be onto something with that.
Oh no, that's the thing, is that somebody needs to come up with a website and actually sell their services as a Scream and Stream driver. Like, that's the thing.
You know what, listen, if you're
a haunt fan out there and you want to go to Scream and Stream for free, just offer to drive somebody.
Just be like, look, I'll Uber you through. I'll Uber you through. It's fine. You won't be able to, pew pew, but you can still drive and experience it. So that'd be a fine way to do it.
Hell, I'll drive you through Scream and Stream. I think that'd be a blast.
We're doing it. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm calling it in.
Let's
make it happen, Patrick. I did have a couple of other questions. Cheryl was asking, she's a Twitch streamer, and she was asking, do you think it would be, or the horror would be a game that would be good to play on live stream via Twitch?
Yes. If provided that everybody has their set, sure. Absolutely, 100%.
Do you think it would be fun if, let's say hypothetically, like me, you, few other folks got together and we live streamed it on Twitch? Do you think that folks would have a good time watching us play?
I think that they would have a great time watching you play.
There.
That's it. I mean, because the thing is that it's, I love poker.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, I love that game. I don't see the merit in watching the World Series of Poker.
Yeah.
I'd rather play.
Yes.
But people love watching people play cards.
Oh yeah.
And with this kind of a game, yeah, I think that people would get down on a live cast and enjoy the hell out of that.
There you go, Cheryl. So you need to make that happen one night. Just saying. Get your deck. Buy it. Discount code Dead Girl. Go right now.
That's it.
Otherhorror.com.
That's it.
Let's see. I think you answered everybody's questions. There was a couple people that were asking some stuff earlier. You already answered it, so we're great there.
Okay.
I do have one final question. I'd love to ask this of all my guests because it kind of helps me get to know you without really, you know what I'm saying? Like without asking you like, what's your sign? Like, no. So I like to ask, what's your favorite horror movie?
Oh God.
Decisions.
Okay, so my pat answer for this question, because we'd get asked it a lot at Horror Nights.
I'm sure.
People would be like, "What's your favorite?" And my cagey response would always be, "What subgenre?" Because honestly, there are so many. There's so many subgenres of horror that, I mean, you see countless horror when you're doing a job like that. So so you have to be like, okay, favorite slasher, Halloween, favorite sci-fi, The Thing, favorite movie involving clowns. I really liked It Part 1.
The remake?
The remake.
Okay.
I mean, Tim Curry's great, don't get me wrong. But I really loved that film. But it's hard to pin down one in particular horror movie that is my favorite. I think I go through phases.
Okay.
Right now, it's Let the Right One In. The
Such
original.
a good movie.
Yeah. I love that film. I love that film. And it's but then again, you know what? Here's the thing: is it's going to be like, I don't know, a week from now, and I'm going to be like, give me Feast.
Nice.
So like, I don't know. It depends on, and then I'll turn on Shudder and I'll see something else.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see Blood Machines and I'll be like, oh, that's the greatest thing that I've seen this week. And then I'll turn on something else and it'll spark that. I haven't watched. I haven't watched The Devil Made Me Do It. I haven't watched the new Conjuring yet. It's on my list.
Did you like the first two?
I did.
Okay.
I did. And I'm probably going to watch it tonight or tomorrow, but at the same time, I'm like, I just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah.
And that's always so funny, too, because our experiences have always been like, well, immediately the new hot horror movie is the thing that is on everybody's lips and is like, that's going to be the next big thing.
Right.
You got to jump on that. And you're like, give it time.
Yeah.
Let it sit for a year or two and see if it still, is impactful.
See if it's got that replay value too. That's the other thing. Like that's how you know it's really good, is if it's worth watching more than once or twice. Then
Absolutely.
You know you've got a great film.
Like Army of Darkness.
Yes.
You have to watch. You can watch that movie all the time, and it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. With commentary on or off, I do both. Mm-hmm. I have a night where I've got like just the film, and then I have a night where I watch it with the commentary on because it's just as entertaining as the movie itself.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. See, you've got some good taste. And I'm going to say, I would like to say that I appreciate the way that you answered that question, because that is the exact way that I answer that question, is what genre?
Yeah.
What are we talking? Zombies? Are we talking slashers? Are you talking, psychological? Are you talking real life, based horror? Like what are we talking here? Because you can't you can't have one.
No, horror as a genre is a patchwork quilt. It really is. It's put together by a bunch of different things. And I also think that, one of the things that we tried to steer away from in the horror was having too much social commentary, which is a difficult thing to do because horror in and of itself is a social commentary medium.
Yes, absolutely.
Everybody from Romero onwards has decided that it's a platform for us to be able to challenge status quo and to talk about things that are really truly taboo. And maybe that's one of the reasons that it's so freeing to be able to create within the genre. That you have that opportunity to go there because nobody else is going to go there because you're the only genre that's allowed to go there.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you can't really go there with like a comedy or with the drama or even like an action film. Like the horror is the only place where it's actually acceptable to go to those places that most of the time you wouldn't even think about going or you wouldn't dare to go.
Well, and the curse of doing it in any other genre, like a comedy movie that would be absolutely profane right now, give it 5 years and that movie will no longer be profane.
Yep.
It'll have moved into the zeitgeist and everybody will go, yeah, it's horrible and controversial now, but give it 5 years and people will move past it. And there are so few movies outside the horror genre that's not the case for.
Yeah.
There are still very, very few.
Absolutely. Now, so thank you for being one of those people that that has multiples, and for good reason as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me on. It's been a lot of fun.
Yes, thank you so much. We'll have to, once some more details with Scream and Stream come out, I'll have to bug you again and get you back on so we can talk about little more in-depth details of what's going on there, because I know you guys are still working on some things.
And until I can release those things,
that's what I'm saying. When it's allowed,
stay tuned. Yeah, stay tuned
safe.
to the social channels. There'll be announcements. Don't worry.
I'm keeping my eyes open.
All right.
Well, thank you, Patrick. Thank you to everybody that's watching and joining with us tonight. Don't forget to head on over to Oh the Horror, order your game. It's still on pre-sale. Use code DEADGIRL for 10% off. Thank you so much, Patrick, for joining me tonight. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you, everybody.
All right, guys, until next time, keep it spooky. Bye.